Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, and every single time in between. Hope you guys are having a lovely one out there. Thank you so much for being here and for clicking on the video. We are diving into Symphony number 1. Dmitri Shostakovich. Hopefully I pronounced his name correctly this time. Some of you helped me a little bit on the pronunciation. Shostakovich. I'm supposed to put it a little bit more on the ko. Shostakovich. And I even looked it up just to see, but there's a few different interpretations of it. So hopefully I got it right this time. But we're listening to Symphony number 1, which was written sometime between 1924 and 25. We're listening to this because it was suggested and sponsored by Max. Max, thank you so much for the recommendation. Thank you so much for the support as well. I really appreciate that. We had listened to the last movement of the 6, and so we're kind of climbing backwards here to the beginning, to his first symphony here. And Max had included a little information here just for context, saying that this symphony was written as a graduation piece during his time studying composition in St. Petersburg. It was finished in 1925 when he was only 19 years old. Now, I don't know about you, but what were you doing at 19 years old? I mean, listen, maybe you were working on some music. Maybe you're writing a book. Maybe you're working in college. Who knows? But to write this at 19 years old is probably going to be quite wild. Let's see how it is. Let's go ahead and give it a listen. We'll discuss it a little bit more after. We're going to let the whole thing play from first movement to last as is appropriate. And that's it. Let's go ahead and dive on in. Listen, relax, or maybe not. Who knows the pacing, how the action, how it's going to feel. There is one way to find out. So enough with the talk. And let's Mark Hollis our way into this symphony. What? This little bass back there. It's kind of playful. Feels very complex already. They really brought it down here. Love that stress and unstressed rhythm in the back. Back to this. Love how it slows down there in the last bits. It's like, not yet, not yet. Repeat this again. I love that pattern. And now using that as a launch pad to this. Grandiose. It's like everything was building up to this. Great rolls on the snare and the bass drum. Max was waiting for that part to come to see how I was going to react. Guaranteed. Right back. That was exciting. A waltz movement. But then it slows it down, drags it, and marches on. I like how they repeat a lot of the same melodies and movements, but change what follows. You could feel it coming back. You could feel it. is heavy. That's so grand. Now for the second movement. What a playful, fun movement there with some big explosions, but gorgeous subtleties. Gathered some speed here now. Oh, piano too, huh? This one's flying. I love the use of the percussion. It sounds like an army sneaking up on another army. I love this melody too. It's very cinematic. You have that subtle back and forth quiver of the strings underneath all this. There's that action again. Okay. Soundtrack. I'm like a kid right now just listening to this. That's unique. That is really unique, in my opinion. Huh. Okay, this second movement is right now like beyond my favorite. The use of the piano is genius, and especially that final move with the rising strings quickly in succession had a cinematic, adventurous feel too. Wow. Huh. See that little vibration. That's such a great technique. There's a romance to this. Romance to drama. It's very weighty. so low. Raises up to exuberance and then drops right back down into these like little shadow movements. And still those strings. They're just super quickly and low. Holding tension. Back. This feels like stargazing, just listening to this. Man, that's so relaxing. this particular movement had a lot of weight to it, and it carried it in both dramatic forms and romantic. Build up. That shimmering of strings. That chord right there is beautiful underneath it all. Okay, that one got me. That one got me a little bit. Is that piano returning? That's like thrash metal of classic right there. That is heavy. And that shimmering. Little xylophone. It's nice lightweight to trail that off. whenever the piano takes place with the strings doing that shimmering sound. You know it was coming. We're rounding about on this one. Push it, push it, push it. There's some very unique aspects to this. It's gonna jump scare us. Love that drum pattern still continues in the back with the spacing. That made my night. Genuinely, in every sense of the word and phrase, this really made my night listening to this. It's 9/11 right now, and this is just such a great way to end my night. This was 35 minutes long. I didn't notice the time going at all. This was just a brilliant piece of music in so many different respects, which I'm not going to be able to sit here and mention every single thing, especially listening to something straight through for 35 minutes for the first time. I can't capture everything. That's why I try to make little comments here and there. But this was great. First symphony. 19 years old? Once again, begs the question, what was I doing at 19 years old? I wasn't making music like this. That had everything. Any mood that you're looking for, it's in here. You want drama? He brings the drama. You want action, tempo? He brings that as well. You want slow, kind of stargazy romantic? Absolutely. You want whatever you want. There's something in here for everyone. There's a moment in here for everyone. And I actually really enjoyed how that was handled. The transitions, the movements between the soft and subtle into the action and grandiose and exuberant was done extremely well. The jump scare moments where the percussion would come in absolutely brash like a bull in a china shop, just wrecking everything. And then he would come back in and put it back together. And you would never know that a bull even tread inside of the store. Honestly, it was just really well done. And this is going to sound silly. I just listened to this, and I already wish I could listen to it for the first time again. Even though I can tell you, I can promise you, this is the type of music, and this particular symphony, I'm going to listen to it again within the next couple days, and I'm going to pull so much more out of it on a second listen because I'll have a little bit of familiarity with it. This is that kind of piece of music. Okay. So to quickly go through the different movements, this is how I felt listening to each one. And if it's your first time here, even if it's not, I just want to reiterate, I don't have any sort of technical education or anything like that when it comes to music in any respect, but especially when it's anything classical or classical adjacent. So I'm just speaking of how I feel. That's all I can speak about. And this made me feel great, in case that wasn't obvious. The first movement felt like the overture. It gave you everything. And especially, it felt very adventurous in the way that it played. You know, it really gave you kind of a total look, a total purview of everything from the adventurous and the progressive into the gentle. It really played in a kind of, here's the story, and now we're going to take you through the chapter specifically. The second movement is my favorite. The introduction of the piano is stellar and very unique, I felt, in the way that the piano was being played and the implementation of it. There's something about the ending that was really, really, to me, it sounded like something very unique. It sounded like something that was kind of maybe not a new technique, but just the way it was performed. The way that the piano and the strings quickly rose up in volume and fell back down, quickly rose back up in volume and fell back down. I thought that was just such a stellar moment here. If I can find it exactly. It was here. This ending. It's hard for me to skip a little bit more ahead, but that. I have that deeper note right there. And then you're left in that ashes right there. Okay. I know it's a small thing, but isn't there something kind of unique about that? Or am I wrong? Am I wrong? Because when that happened, that ending, I don't know, it was shocking. It had kind of a stabbing motion to it in a musical sense of the word. And I just thought that was really cool. That's the allegro. That particular movement there. But yeah, the rest of this was absolutely my favorite. It is punchy. It is elegant in places, but most of all, it feels like playful, but well, actually, I would describe the first movement as playful, in my opinion. This one made it more serious, a little bit more cinematic in its experience. And this movement and the third one especially, I felt like it could be in a soundtrack to a movie. Like some of the parts, I felt like it sounded like an army sneaking up on a camp or a base or a stronghold of sorts. But oh, and the percussion. The percussion is just out of this world. But let me try to find where the piano plays in here, if you don't mind me skipping around briefly. Oh god, this is where I was really feeling that cinematic part. That sounds like a later composer for some movie would use that theme or something like it. And I can just hear it on the tip of my mind, and I'm trying to place where I've heard something that sounds familiar to this. I would assume that this came earlier than the movie, like I'm trying to think of, but it sounds like a piece. Like that part specifically sounds very familiar. If you guys think of the film that I'm thinking of, I feel like it's like the entrance to like a king or a ruler entering a city, or they're discussing a city, and it's like the scenic shot of the ancient city. But it's slower than this. I really wish I could think of it, because I can hear it in my head. I just can't picture the movie that it's along with. But yeah, either way, the second movement feels the most cinematic and soundtrack-ish of it all. From these beginnings, which just kind of sound like, oh, this melody is great, by the way. And I think that's also why it gave me a kind of cinematic feel, because, you know, when certain characters are on the screen, when certain acts are happening, you have familiar melodies that are the piece of music that, you know, is placed behind the character or a certain place, whatever it might be. And I feel like that melody was the place and the melody for a particular scene. I couldn't tell you what or the character in my mind, but that's just where it was placed. And then the way it moves from that into an action set piece is just beyond brilliant. Man, I wish I could find this other moment I was thinking of. I love the percussion throughout this, though. But yeah, the ending is sensational. I wish I could remember what I'm thinking of. Okay, moving into the third movement. The third movement is where I was getting a lot, not completely, but a lot of that romantic gazing up at the stars. You know, she's on the balcony, he's on the grass, playing music for her or something, or trying to woo her. And it's just one of those classical romantic scenes, those classical scenes you see play out on theaters and stages worldwide. And I just loved how that swept us in. It scared me at one point when the music came in, a little heavier, but for a decent amount of time, we're relaxed, we're gentle, we're softly massaged with the music here. A little bit of depth in those strings, which in quite a few of the movements, we get a nice deep note that really resonates in a very intimate and yet powerful way, which I think is fantastic. And a lot of times we also have a violin that comes in and leads over some of the music, which to me almost acts as like a singer in a certain respect. This is absolutely romantic to me. Singing to me with, you know, a sadness, but wanting love. That's how I hear that. Like I said, later on, we change moods. We change moods when this comes in. But it doesn't ruin it. It expands upon what was brought in before. That's what I mean, like with this whole symphony, you get so many different places, feelings, emotions, sounds, actions, subtlety. You get all of it, and none of it sounds out of place. Some of it is sudden, but of course purposely so, and it makes it that much, honestly, more intense and fun to listen to. And it just makes sense. It makes great sense. And of course it comes back down. And the ending, it leads up nicely to the final movement. I like how it faked you out with a little silence here, and then you get that snare. You can hear it rolling on in, and then you just get popped in the beginning of the fourth movement. That's like it's gonna hit you. It's gonna come out and hit you. And the fourth movement kind of plays in obviously the perfect way of wrapping everything up. The piano returns, but it also kind of hits the same movements as I would say as the first, just kind of bringing everything back together and hitting once again that adventure. There's some extremely heavy percussive moments in here as well. The bass drum is used to fantastic effect throughout. But like the build of tension. Oh, one thing also I forgot to mention here in the fourth movement actually. So something that's pretty common throughout this symphony is what I call like the shimmering of the strings, the violin or the string section. Just kind of, it's two notes just going back and forth very quickly. So, like low in volume for the most part, but going back and forth. So it creates this tension to me. I really like how at one moment the piano takes over that particular sound. And it also sounds like we have a xylophone involved in this symphony as well, which is really cool because it doesn't come in except for like one brief moment, and then that's it. I'm actually going to look up here. I'm pulling up I have the Wikipedia pulled up here. I'm pulling you guys up for it. I just want to see instrument-wise. Obviously, the piano comes in. It's Glockenspiel. Okay. The Glockenspiel comes in for just a brief moment, and then it's gone. It feels like the ashes of the explosion that came in before that. I don't remember exactly when it took place. I can't find it. I don't want to skip around too much. But let's continue on from where I wanted to go. I wanted to try and find... Oh, yeah, I wanted to try and find the shimmering of the piano. I love how it stops and the percussion starts a new rhythm here, for lack of a better word. And it's a very slow-paced rhythm. A lot of empty space here. But then eventually when the music comes in... I'm not waiting for it to come back. There you go. When the music comes in, the percussion still plays in that same... not melody, but rhythm. You hear it right there. And just as slow-paced. I really love how it slows things down to a crawl after speeding it up to a race. That is so good. And it sounds like this is how the piece is going to resolve. In a gorgeous, subtle, windswept kind of way. But guess what? It's not. Because we end with fireworks. I cannot tell you how much I love when he composes in that kind of heaviness. Because obviously this is made in the early 1900s and it does have that modern kind of sound and some sensibilities to it. That is just stellar. I really, really love that. Like I could hear some metal bands being influenced by that in some capacity. I think that this is sensational. I loved listening to this symphony, with the second being my favorite, but this is fantastic. Look at 19. This guy made that. And I apologize if I mispronounce his name again. Shostakovich wrote the work as his graduation piece at the Petrograd Conservatory. The work has 4 movements, as we heard. Begins with the introductory allegretto section, which is developed from a duet between solo trumpet and bassoon. Leads into the first subject proper, a lively march-like allegro, reminiscent of the vaudeville theater music he would have encountered during his time as a cinema pianist. That makes sense. That makes sense right there. The subject is ostensibly a waltz, with the flute melody finding its way around several sections of the orchestra. The development section features a return to mock comic grotesqueries, although the sonata-form structure of this movement is entirely conventional. We get a false start in the second movement. The cellos and basses before a frantic scherzo begins with the clarinet. The piano features for the first time with rapid scalic runs before a more somber mood develops. Here, he writes a triple time passage in 2 with melodies being passed through the flutes, clarinets, strings, oboes, piccolos, and clarinets again, while the strings and triangle play in the background. Just a little ting. And it goes on from there. Third movement begins with a dark oboe solo, transferring to a cello, and proceeds to develop into crescendo. There's a drum roll attica from the third movement into the fourth. After a number of somber passages, the music begins and enters. It's an allegro molto section with a very fast melody on the clarinet and strings. This reaches a furious climax at which calm descends. Yeah, with that drum just slowly bringing it back in. The following allegro section culminates in a fortissimo timpani solo, a rhythmic motif which featured in the third movement. A passage for solo cello and muted strings cleverly uses this motif along with several other elements, leading into a coda section which ends the work with rousing fanfare-like figures from the brass. Rousing is definitely one word to use for that action of an ending. As we mentioned, let's see. While he wrote this piece as his graduation exercise, some of the material may have dated from considerably earlier. When the composer's aunt first heard the work at its American premiere, she recognized it in many fragments she had heard Mitya play as a child. The immediate parallel to the 19-year-old composer presenting his first symphony was Alexander Glasunov, himself a child prodigy who had his first symphony performed at an even younger age, a little bit of a rivalry perhaps. Glasunov may have recognized Shostakovich, an echo of his younger self. As director of the conservatory, Glasunov had followed his progress since his entrance at age 13. He also arranged for the premiere of Shostakovich's Symphony, which took place 44 years after Glasunov's. It was a tremendous success as premiere. Nikolai Malkos, who conducted the symphony's world premiere, said its maturity was impossible to deny. Yeah, displays interesting and characteristic combination of liveliness and wit on one hand and drama and tragedy on the other. It captures every single emotion. Listen, I may be, saying everything in a very simple, for my world kind of way, but I'm getting the points. Some ways reminiscent of Stravinsky and Prokofiev. The transparent and chamber-like orchestration is in quite a contrast to the Mahlerian orchestrations found in many of his later symphonies. Because of the traditionalist mindset of the conservatory, he did not discover the music of Stravinsky until his late teens. The effect of hearing this music was instant and radical, with Stravinsky's compositions continuing to hold a considerable influence over him. I think that is absolutely brilliant. Listen, all this is nice. It's a brilliant piece of music. At the end of the day, this is genuinely a brilliant piece of music, and I had a fantastic time listening to this. This is just a great time. This is a great way to spend some time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for hopefully enjoying. I really hope that you enjoyed something within this piece as much as I did. The second movement is just my favorite though. Man, I really like that one a lot. Max, thank you so much for the request and for the suggestion again. Truly appreciate that. I hope that you guys got something out of this. I hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you as always for listening alongside with me and for sharing in this experience with me and sharing the music with me. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Please come back again tomorrow, and I will see you all then. Bye, guys.